Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges, and joining me today, we've got a very special guest. He is the #1 NCAA swimming recruit for the class of 2021. He's headed to NC State next year. He's a senior in high school this year. He broke a Michael Phelps. He jumped Michael Phelps for second place all time in the 15-16 200-yard butterfly as recent as December 14th, 2019. Please welcome Aiden Hayes. Aiden, how's it going, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Your swimming roots go deep. You've been in the swimming game for a long time. One of the only pictures we have of you in the SwimSwam database is you as a little kid at the Mutual of Omaha breakout swim. Was this a clinic or a meet?
So this was we have a pro series that we used to do here in Oklahoma that we had split between us and Texas. It's kind of the Region 8 area. And we had that meet every single year in December, and it usually falls after junior nationals.
Okay, so you're at this pro meet, and you're with a group of pros. You must, I mean, you can't be older than 12 in this picture, but you're with Cody Miller, Michael Andrew, Mike Alexandrov, Paul Lee, to name a few. So you're just surrounded by pros. Jimmy Fegan, and you look just like you're just this tiny little kid. Tell me about that meet and that experience, getting to see all these Olympians.
So that was probably like the first time I had seen like anyone other than just local swimmers. So I was 12 years old at the time, still not a good swimmer whatsoever. But they had shown up to that meet, and this was our first time, and I really got to meet all of those guys. And that was the first time I met Michael Andrew, and probably growing up throughout the young swimming career, looking up to someone specifically was probably him, especially in the central zone, just because we saw him all the time there. So that was the first time I met him, but I ended up having many, many more meets growing up against him and swimming with him. So that was just kind of the beginning of it.
How did getting to meet a kid like Michael Andrew, but then also, getting to see these Olympians, these pros, just how they handle themselves, did that impact you in any specific way that you remember today?
Yeah, most definitely. It's at that time I hadn't really taken swimming super seriously. I was just kind of getting into it. I'd only been swimming for 2 years at that point, and just getting to see like the upper level of things, and how cool it is to be one of those guys. That definitely motivated me quite a bit. And that meet was probably the turning point in my swimming career where not I got serious because I was still only 12 at the time, but I definitely started noticing there was something going on with the sport that I actually have to reach goals for.
Yeah. And so you mentioned, you're from Region 8. I'm also from Region 8. I swam there. I coached there. And as you mentioned, so is Michael Andrew. And, I think that's a hard region to grow up in and really have an elite perspective in, I think, because I'm going to throw it out there. You don't have to say it. I'll say it. It's not a fast part of the country when you compare it to a Texas or a California or a Florida. I mean, the competition just is not the same. But you did get this opportunity to see these elites, and you said that kind of changed you from there. Tell me about, moving forward, how you were able to develop an elite mindset and kind of push yourself to get to that elite level, again, competing in that central region.
Yeah, so what you said is completely true. I joked about it a lot with a lot of people over just meeting new people in the swimming world. Every time I get to a meet, they're like, "Oh, where do you live?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Oklahoma." I mean, the middle of nowhere. Swimming is absolutely nothing here. and we joke about that all the time. But the biggest thing to actually becoming bigger in the swimming world and trying to better myself as an athlete, yes, Michael Andrew and pros played a huge part in that, but probably one of the biggest influencers as I was going through club swimming and getting into high school was Patrick Callan. He's up at Michigan right now. Very fast dude, great guy. Was probably, I know for me and several other people, one of the biggest mentors growing up as a kid in my little age group for swimming. Everyone really looked up to him, going such fast times. And just over time, we all grew closer and started, time started getting a little closer, and then realized, my swimming career could actually go somewhere. But local guys like him really made a big impact.
Then that's the you and Patrick Callan are the two swimmers from Oklahoma I know. I don't know if I know any other Oklahoma swimmers names. I might if I saw him, but I'm glad you brought him up because he does really come to mind, and he kind of again for his age he was kind of setting the standard in that central region. Certainly mid distance freestyle, and then yeah, it seems like you've kind of picked up the torch. Um, let's so you were able to kind of make those steps. Let's talk about so when we ranked your class rather in 2019, in May of 2019, you were at a 147 200 fly, 4600 fly. Those are exceedingly respectable times. That's super fast. You were number 2 on our list. But then you go to juniors nationals in winter of 2019, and you drop what a 140
141. Yeah.
141.34 200 fly as a 16-year-old. That's pretty serious stuff. Tell me about where you were in spring of 2019 versus where you were at that winter juniors meet.
So probably that spring before winter juniors, we had just come off of, in my opinion, probably one of the worst long course meets I've had in a while. Not really spring, but that summer I had not what I expected for that long course. But luckily enough, it was a decent enough meet to get me qualified for the national select camp. And that was probably the turning point in my spring season, was getting to go there. So not only I got to go there and be with a bunch of fast people, I was with Sam, I was with Arsenio, guys like Anthony Grimm. I mean, just about everyone from our class was there because we're all a bunch of short course swimmers. And getting to go there and train with everyone else and be there, I had gone into that season, obviously, just, I wouldn't say not confident, but looking for confidence. It hadn't really come to me yet, considering I was just coming off a bad season. And that camp for me, I came out of there ready to race anyone. That was the turning point in my season. I was ready to go from there. So it really tuned me up well.
Tell me a little bit more about that camp. Do you remember a specific set you did really well on, or a workout that was like, oh yeah, I killed that, or that killed me?
Yeah. So I've been like sort of kind of known for going to those camps, absolutely biting it. I'm a terrible trainer. I'm really bad at training, especially long course. So we're short course all season, and I'm not one of the fastest trainers there is. So we showed up to the camp, and I don't think they're gonna appreciate me outing them like this, but me, Arsenio, and Anthony Grimm, very first day, just get absolutely crushed and have to go into our own lane and start kicking with pins because we couldn't keep up with everyone else. No, that was definitely a very, very rough camp to show up to. And I got my butt kicked the entire time. But stuff like that's what I really enjoy. You have to get your butt kicked every single once in a while to get it in gear. And I think it's really what I needed at the time. So that was really helpful to get the floor wiped with me for 3 days straight.
I think you have to be exposed to show you what you need to work on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What was that first? What was that first practice that you guys just couldn't handle? I mean, I've had Anthony Grimm on. Arsenio is in your NC State freshman class coming in next year. These are fast guys. It's like you said, they're fast short course. They're not fast long course, but they're very fast short course.
Yeah.
What set just floored you guys?
Yeah.
What was
So we were kind of joking about it. We had hopped in the water, and I hadn't really. Our coach just said it was going to be an easy swim through, and like I'd remembered the zone select camp that it was absolutely gut wrenching the whole time, because they accidentally put me in the mid distance group then and tried to do it again this time. So we showed up, and that first practice, the coach says, "Yeah, we're just going to have a nice, easy swim through. None of us have done long course in 4 or 5 months." And he slams 8,000 meters down on us in the very first practice we show up. And it was not fun. It was not fun to watch either.
Oh my God. 8,000 meters in a let's get accustomed to long course. That's intense.
Yeah.
um so, so you go to this camp, you come out, you get your butt kicked, but you come out rejuvenated. You're like, okay, I'm ready to go. And it's kind of funny because obviously your 100 fly is elite. You have elite speed. You're a 1950 freestyle, 4600 fly, but you go to this juniors meet, you drop a 141.2 fly, and like you said, you're short course swimmer, and sometimes sprinters can pull off a 200, but 141. What you know what happened in that fall after the camp to get you to put together such an elite level mid distance race?
So this probably started at the beginning of my swimming career, and I hate to accept it. Not a lot of people know this, but some people know this. My coach is my dad. He's one of my coaches. He's a volunteer coach that we have, and then obviously the head coach and stuff like that. But he and another one of my coaches had always told me growing up that I was going to be a two flyer or a mid distance swimmer. And you're growing up 13 years old. Oh no, I don't want to do that. The two fly sucks. No, nobody wants to do it. And kind of as the years had gone on, I'm getting sort of faster at it, but I'm just kind of swimming it. And we had got into the beginning of that spring season, and I had fly at the very first meet of the season and just gone right on my best time. And I think a week later or so after that first meet of the season, my dad, we were driving to practice, and he had made a joke, and he was like, what if you were to try and get down there around the national age group record? And I was like, are you crazy? Like that's absolutely not happening. And lo and behold, I got a I told you so after juniors. So yeah, no, it's an event that we hadn't directly focused on until about after that first meet. We kind of realized, there's a lot of competition in the 100 fly right now, especially NCAA, Olympic level, stuff like that. And we thought maybe our best chance to improve was in the two fly. So, yeah.
So you got the I told you so after the swim. Tell me about going into the swim. Were you after that fall, were you expecting to be down there close to the national age group record, or was that still a pretty big surprise to you?
Yeah, no, this is, I've talked about this with my teammates a couple times. As you get older, you kind of get in this groove of training, and you understand, okay, I can tell where my body's at. I can tell if I'm going to have a good meet. I can tell if I was going to have a good race or not. And I showed up, I think it was that Saturday morning of the meet, and it was probably the first time I'd been actually shocked by a race in a while. We had hopped in for the prelim swim off the 53 the first day, and had won that, and we were like, okay, this could be a decent meet. And I went in there and we expected to have a pretty smooth early morning prelim swim. And I think I went a 1:43.5 or something. And I got out of the pool, went over to my coaches, and I was like, that was probably the easiest two fly of my life. And they were like, what are you talking about? Like, you just dropped, 3 or 4 seconds. Um, and we didn't really expect to drop that much. And it was probably, I think I went over to a couple of buddies from the National Select Camp too. And after that two fly in the morning, it hurt so little. I think I did a 25 cool down and left for the day. Because I think I was that confident in how good it felt. And, we had kind of talked about, well, it's going to be harder at nighttime. That's just how it is. It's how it always is. The race hurts more. And we get there and I raced that night and I was, I touched the wall and I was shocked. I didn't really, we had been training for that goal, but I didn't expect it to actually happen. So we were very pleased with that. It was a really big shock, but great race.
That's a great story. 25 cool down after a smooth 1:43 in the morning. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about your training. As you mentioned, Dad's been your coach for a coach of yours for a while. So did you start training more mid distance? Were you still kind of working on speed? What's your day to day, let's say pre-quarantine, training wise look like?
So we are a club that is we're not super distance based, obviously. I wouldn't say we're like USRPT though. We're not we are race pace training, but we like to venture out at different times in the season into a little bit more yards, a little bit more meters, stuff like that. So normally I would say we're probably about a 4,000 to 6,000 on average yard practice. But we do a lot of and technique work. Throughout a practice, there's going to be probably 2 to 3 sprint sets. And along with that, we're going to have 2 to 3 drill sets. That's been our focus for a while, is be able to sprint for a very long time, whether it's on low or but keep a good technique. That's what we really try to focus on, is technique.
Nice. And so you also mentioned that you're more of a short course swimmer. You guys train short course year round. Do you like short course better than long course? Do you even like long course at all? What and what do you like about short course?
Probably, I mean, the most obvious fact about it, I love to abuse underwaters. We talked about this a long time ago, probably like halfway through last season, with one of the coaches I had been talking to for a while. And underwaters are a weapon in short course. We talked about it that way. It's not just something to go through in short course. It's something you can use as a weapon to get faster. And that's why I like short course to some extent, but obviously long course being how you make the national team, how you make the Olympic team, Olympic trials, stuff like that. So it's something we've always really worked on, and the focus the past probably 1.5 to 2 years for me is getting stronger so I can become a better swimmer, not just a better turner in underwater.
Makes sense. That's that's fair. And so heading into trials before quarantine hit in mid-March, what were you focusing on for your Olympic trials?
So the goal at that time was just to finish up my cuts. Our goal throughout all this, and still, because I'm yet to get a few of them, the goal is to get the cuts with using as little of a taper as possible. So my first trials cut that we got a while back in Bloomington, we didn't rest for that or anything. And our goal is to get through all of these trials cuts on very little rest and kind of, I guess, save a taper for Olympic trials. We want to be as fast as possible without using a taper, because if anything, we want trials to be a breakout meet, not just another taper. That's just kind of the goal. So we want to just pick up a few more cuts and then train until then.
And so tell me about your last 6-7 months now. Where were you pre-quarantine? Where were you, in early March? And then what has your situation looked like? Because everyone's really has been so radically different.
Mm-hmm. So pre-quarantine, we were on our way up to the Region 8 sectionals, and it's about a 6 to 7 hour drive from Oklahoma. We make the entire drive. We get there to warm up the day before the meet, and we get an email on the way up in the car around 2 p.m. And they were like, "Hey, there's a possibility that we're not going to swim this weekend." And everyone at the time were like, "Oh, whatever, it'll just blow over. We'll swim. Great meet. Sure, something will happen after the meet, but let's just get through the meet." And we had hotel for about probably 2 or 3 hours. I've got one leg shaved. We're doing a little shaving party, and we're sitting there and playing music on the speaker, and I get a phone call, and they're like, "Yeah, meet's canceled." And we were just all shocked. So we went to my coach's room. Didn't get to end up finish shaving the rest of my leg or anything. He was like, "Hey, we're packing it up, heading home tomorrow morning. No meet." And we tried to figure out some more meets to go to, but obviously it never worked out with everything shutting down because of the pandemic. And then training throughout the pandemic, I would say we've been very, very, very fortunate with everything that's going on. We got back in the water around early May with heavy COVID like guidelines. So we only had 2 people in each lane in the pool, just split. We did that for probably about a month or 2, and then things started to loosen up a little bit. So we had Zoom meetings for dry lands to replace that, and we're getting hour practices, and we stuck with that for a while. And I would say probably 2 months ago-ish, pretty deep into the long course season, we got not free range of motion to practice in whatever way we want, but we got back to basically a full schedule, doing 2 swim practices a day, weights and dry land. So we were very, very fortunate on that side of things. And now we're kind of running into a bump in the road. We only have one pool in Norman here that's open to train in, sort of, and it's outdoors, and it's getting Oklahoma is very up and down weather. So last week it was 40 degrees in the mornings, 60s in the afternoons, and you're trying to swim outside in the morning. It's not the best thing. So we're hoping we can get an indoor pool open here soon.
So, yeah, Midwest weather can be very finicky, as you mentioned, and yeah, swimming outdoors Midwest in fall, winter, that it just really doesn't work super well. But that's nice. It sounded like you did get to do a lot of swimming throughout the quarantine, which is, like you said, very fortunate. What heading into this sectional meet, how did you think you were going to swim? Were you feeling pretty confident heading into that meet?
Yeah, no, we especially even reflected on this recently with our end of quarantine meet. Sectionals was hopefully going to be my long course break. Everyone hopes that. But we had trained really hard, and that was probably the best shape I had ever been in. So at juniors that winter, I had gone 46.0 with a shave taper in the butterfly, rest and everything. And with the training over the months following, we went to a short course high school state, and I had went like 46.2 in an old suit, no shave, no taper. So we had gotten some good training in, and I was in really good shape. And obviously we were hoping it would have went well, would have got all my trials cuts. but to come out of the end of all this and to get close to all my long course best times like I did 2 weekends ago at the end of our season meet, that was our goal, was just to make it through the pandemic and don't lose your mind. And I think we got it done. Okay.
That's that. I'm laughing, chuckling to myself, but also like in all seriousness, that's a great goal. Get through pandemic, not lose your mind.
Yeah.
You like you said, you made it. Yeah, I didn't realize this. You had an end of season meet 2 weekends ago. Tell me about it.
So it was a little disappointing in the sense that obviously we wanted trials cuts. We're coming up on trials pretty soon. We had one long course day and one short course day. And on the long course day, I had swam all 3 of the events. I was trying to get trials in. So that's the 2 fly, the 100 back, and the 50 free. Didn't get trials in any of them, but I think I won a best time in the 50 by like 0.01. And then both my other events, I was within like 0.2 or 0.3. So I came out of that day, hindsight's 2020. Obviously, in the moment after the first day, I was a little disappointed. But after the meet finished, to get through all of, in the nicest way possible, to get through all the crap everyone has had to deal with over the past 7-8 months, it was tough. And to come out still in some sort of shape was very relieving. And then that second day of the meet was probably it was the big day for me. So we after the first day, we went in for a breaststroke day on the next day, and that was my pride and joy. Brag to all the NC State guys that I'm going to be the breaststroker for our class.
What? So tell me about day 2. Would you swim? What were your times like?
Yeah, so we had a 200 IM and 100 breast. The 100 breast was the first thing, and so I don't know if everyone knows this, but I'm a god awful breaststroker. I mean, it's pretty bad. And the only way I ever get through breaststroke is just to abuse the walls and just pull out 90% of the pool, take 3 or 4 strokes, and just get off the wall. And I was joking with one of my buddies who had already been, his best time was like 58 or something, and I was still at 59.00. And I was messing with him the whole week leading up to the meet. I was like, I'm going to destroy you in the breaststroke this weekend. And I ended up jumping from a 59 to a 57. And in the nicest way possible, I rubbed it in his face for like 2 days, just making all kinds of breaststroke jokes. This past week at practice, I've only been doing breaststroke sets. I'm living it up all I can.
Once you emerge and are able to enter the breaststroke door, you don't look back. That's a proud moment. It's a proud moment. That's awesome. A butterflyer becoming a pseudo breaststroker. That's great to see as a swim fan. So you just had your I guess end of the season kind of meet. Sounds like it went well. Tell me about what this past week has been like. What are you looking for out of this senior season of yours?
This senior season, one of the curses we've had here in Oklahoma, and we joke about it all the time, but we kind of talked about it already. The only really notable college names so far out of Oklahoma are me and Patrick at huge D1 colleges. We've got we've had a lot of people go to like MSU, perform really well there. We have a couple of girls from Oklahoma at Kansas right now, doing really well. But the curse for Oklahoma has been everyone gets extreme senioritis no matter how fast they are. And then they go to college for 1 year and then they quit swimming. And then, they just never really get through college. So that's something we've always been adamant about, is not burning out and staying as mentally healthy as possible, going into college and going into the senior season. So the goal for the senior season is probably just to go as fast as possible, but not forget, I still have another 4 years. I'm still going to be committed to those 4 years and I want to make sure and show up to college as in shape as possible.
I mean, again, it's a great goal. Uh, being in shape, that seems reasonable. Seems doable. Let's get into some more fun stuff. Do you have a favorite meet you've ever gone to? And if so, tell me about it.
Favorite meet probably was, oh God, I want to say this was short course sectionals 3 years ago. Um, so Michael Andrew and Michael Chadwick both come to this meet. Um, Everyone's kind of watching out for them. At the time, I'm still not. I've talked to Michael Andrew a few times. I'm just some little kid who's trying to swim and get faster. Um, and I believe this is the meet that Michael Andrew went his 1850 free at like 18 years old. So that was a really big weekend for him. And going to this sectionals, it was probably my first one that I could do decent at the meet at. Actually got into 3 or 4 A finals with Michael Andrew and got like third or fourth to him. And, I was 13, 14 years old, absolutely just jaw dropping, losing my mind the whole time. But getting to actually race those guys for the first time and kind of realizing, especially in short course, they're a little bit ahead of me, but I could potentially one day hopefully catch up to those guys. Chasing down your idols is probably the most inspiring thing to do in swimming. And I think that's where that meet really started it for me, is getting to be in person, seeing really guys race, and then getting to go race with them.
It sounds like an awesome meet, and kind of a game changing meet for you. You said chasing down your idols, and dude, at this point, your freshman class at NC State, you guys are just chasing down each other. I've
Yep.
talked to David Curtis, I've talked to Sam Hoover, and you guys all had we've covered the legendary recruiting trip where you guys all took the trip, you guys all committed at similar times, and then like you guys just started exploding. Like Sam had an amazing meet, you had an amazing meet. Like you guys all had these dropped these jaw dropping times. And I don't want to gush on it too hard, but it's been fun to watch as a swim fan. What has it been like for you, for you guys to kind of go back and forth? When you guys all committed, you still had 2 years until you
Mhm.
even got to NC State. You still have a year until you guys actually touch campus. What has it been like to have that competitive edge within that class?
Honestly, I'll say it was probably one of the saving graces during out this whole COVID thing, especially. Because I came up as a younger swimmer and I swam with all the older guys. So they've all graduated recently, except for one guy because he was one of the Dartmouth swimmers. So he took a gap year this year with the program being cut. And if it wasn't for him, and then I think all the NC State guys, it would have been a rough pandemic. Having those guys, I think the most important thing that we all talk about amongst each other is, I don't care how fast you are coming into the class. Um, Everyone is equal. We're all on the same level. We haven't done anything, no matter how fast we are right now. We haven't done anything for NC State yet. We haven't gotten there and proved ourselves yet. And I think that's been our biggest, I would say, goal for everyone, is just to prove ourselves. I mean, we get done after practice, we'll send, a little text, hey, had a good practice, kind of little chips to motivate each other here and there. And I think that's been a huge deal, is we've all motivated each other throughout this junior to senior year transition.
And I think that's what makes it so cool for me, is you guys seem to have a really good bond. And again, staying humble, keeping each other accountable to that humility of guys, we haven't done anything yet, and we got to keep our head down and keep moving forward. And
Yeah.
again, that's something that makes it So exciting. Um, so to finish up our conversation here, moving forward, you talked about just being in shape when you get to NC State. Over the next couple weeks, couple months, what are you looking forward to? Do you have any meets that you are able to do? Are you racing in practice? What are your short-term goals just for the foreseeable future?
Short-term goals right now really are get back into shape. We started training again already after the end of last season. Um, and this, I'd probably say in short term of this entire season right now, everything, every single practice over the next 7 months, no matter who you are going into Olympic trials, every single practice has a purpose. Every single stroke, you have to be focusing on something. So I would say this season coming up is a very big mental focus on just being in the right headspace. Everyone's going to show up at trials this next year. Everyone's going to be physically ready. It just depends if you're mentally ready. We've all had enough time to prepare and be physically ready, but I think the mental game is going to be a huge part of it for many, many people. And I think that's just probably the biggest goal is just stay in the right state of mind over the next 7 months to keep myself focused on where I need to go.
Last question, I promise. You're talking about being mentally ready. The pandemic has obviously taken a huge toll physically, obviously mentally for everyone. You talked about how the NC State guys, your class has really boosted your spirits through this pandemic. Right now, what are you doing to train that mental side in practice, outside of practice? How are you going to be mentally ready come 2021 Olympic trials?
The main thing we'll do there is probably just go into practice every single day. And I learned this from coach a while ago. Take it one practice at a time. Once you have the practice, once you have a meet that you swim anytime over the next 7 months, it's all geared towards a bigger purpose. So just to understand that, you can't win them all, and it's okay not to go fast right now. We want to be fast in 7 months. If we're fast right now, that's great, but we want to be fast in 7 months. So just to take it one meet at a time, focus on what I need to, and when the meet's over with, go home, watch TV, play video games, just leave it at the pool, leave it all at the pool, and in the end, you'll be successful.
Well, Aiden, thank you so much for taking the time today to talk with me. I'm so glad we can make it work, and we could chat about swimming. Thanks for nerding up with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.